The federal government is seeking for full autonomy for the 774 local governments in the country. After filing a suit, the Supreme Court of Nigeria has ordered the 36 states' governors to file their respective defense in less than 4 days' time. Leading a 7-man panel, Justice GarbaLawal issued the order while ruling on an application for abridgment of time argued by the Attorney General of the Federation. According to federal government, efficiency at the level of the third tier of government has been hampered by the overbearing influence of state governors. Some experts also say this move by the federal government has the potential to restore development at the grassroots and strengthen the local government system. Joining us in the studio is public commentator Ayodele Adewale. Good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, 25 years of unbroken democracy, and here we are with matters of local government autonomy, where development or democracy is supposed to have trickled down to the grassroots, but we are having this kind of a bottleneck, and the federal government is saying no more, and then decided to take the 36 state governors to court. What, from your perspective, do you make of this move by the federal government?
Well, I think it's a wonderful thing, because local government right now will be allowed to be very competitive, and of course people will pay more attention to it. That perception that you vote, you don't vote, they will have it their way, would have been taken away, and it would bubble more like we see during the state and federal government elections.
Interesting.
Well, so if you look at local government administration, it's more like talking about the matters of governance and development. It's like where the rubber meets the road. So if you look at what we have, what obtains currently as part of the local government, do you feel that they probably would have done better if all the controls, talk about, the essence of creation of local government are in their hands, or they wouldn't have even done better because it's just almost like the same persons we have at the executive level, talk about state level and the federal government level, not much difference we would have seen if even the local government is autonomous?
Well, it's a question of who is on the saddle. People must pay more attention, especially when it gets to local government affairs. The local government is the closest government to the people, and is the most responsive government to its people. The federal government is far off. State government is at the middle. But we find a situation whereby the federal government, some state government are doing the work of the local government. And you also see a situation where some states have not even conducted local government election in almost 20 years. There are some states in Nigeria like that.
Yeah.
But when you come to Lagos State, you see a semblance of local government working because of the various competitions among the various local government heads, competing on infrastructural provision and other sundry matters. But you cannot vividly say that for so many states in Nigeria. And that is why the federal government load is seen to be very heavy. You can imagine the amount of money that have been channeled to the local government since 1999 till now, right? That money runs into trillions of naira. And if those monies have been channeled effectively well, our economy would have been more robust. And I believe that is what have championed the energy of the federal government as led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to acting more that state government should key into his plan, his vision, to allow local government operate the way it should be as it is seen in other climes of the world.
Interesting. So now the question on the lips of many, you have mentioned Lagos State, for instance, and you were once a local government chair. Talk to us how perhaps Lagos State was able, or how you were able to work with the state government at the time to achieve the successes you were able to record during your period at the helm of affairs.
For Lagos State, we've been having elections in the local government, since 1999. There has never been a time whereby there has been a vacuum there.
Or caretaker committee?
They were a caretaker committee in recent time, but now, since the Supreme Court verdict, there's nothing like that. And in Lagos State, like I said, activities have been very competitive among local government chairs and all of that. I will take my own era as an example. If you remember, you used to have a program on TVC and LTV. There was a program called Conference 57. And every local government go there to showcase what they're able to do. People will say that the autonomy is not full-fledged. Not for Lagos State. In Lagos, I remember when I was there, I could do whatever we had planned out to do in accordance to the provision in our budget. And I also have leverage to work with other governments outside of Nigeria. Like we had a sister city partnership with some boroughs in the UK. And I remember working with Sheffield and Brent. In fact, there was a time the mayor of Brent came to meet me in the local government, and I also paid a courtesy visit to Sheffield. And we also worked with the UKTI. We went to the UK to speak with a lot of investors. I thank God that the Lagos State government have adopted the Cowrie card. Amuwo Odofin local government would have been the first to introduce it because we were about deploying some buses. We were working with Ashok Leyland. Ashok Leyland inherited the Volkswagen company at Ojo, and I had a policy of not borrowing loan or going for loan, but they were insistent that for them to deploy those buses, we needed to secure some loans. So rather, I went for smaller shuttle buses that you see all over Lagos now. We started with 4 shuttle buses as at that time. We called it Amuwo Odofin Shuttle. I remember also working with the Fadama, to empower small-scale farmers and all of that. I remember also making provision for 40 million naira at 1.5% of interest for SMEs, right? The collateral then was a letter of credence from a religious leader, either Muslim or Christian, or your community leader, and you assess the loan, 1.5% of interest. I do remember that we made provision for free health, free delivery that you see in Lagos now. We gave birth to over 3,000 babies, 1 triplet and several twins and all of that. We gave delivery kits. We gave free drugs to people within the age of 0 to 16 years of age, then 60 and above. I met one doctor, I left 46 doctors. We worked with the NYSC, right? I was having about 250 core members deployed to Amuwo Odofin. This you can fact check. If you go to YouTube, just dial positive impact, Comrade Ayodele Adewale, or Amuwo Odofin positive impact. You see.
So you didn't have any issues with finances at the time? The state government ensured you had your
No. We didn't have issues with finances. The federal allocation will come, state allocation will come, right? I remember when I came in on October the 30th, 2008, the IGR I met was 30,000 naira. But when
30,000?
Yeah, I was the IGR I met, right? But when I left 23 million naira per month, right? We were working with if I remember this consulting company now, they also work for Lagos State. We were working with them. So we were able to block all the leakages, right? And we grew the revenue. We even penetrated to the expander. But the deadlock we had then was that they said they will collect the revenue and then pass it to us. And we said no. In accordance to the administrative guidelines, you must apply as a revenue consultant before we allow you to come on board. But even without the expander, which was a big cash cow for the local government, we grew our revenue to over 260 million per annum, right? And we were buying brand new cars for our legislators, executive members, and of course for the head of department. We bought cars from Archie Briscoe, right? Brand new Corolla of that year, and it was maintained by our trade school, and we had an insurance plug to it. So we cut off wasteful expenditure, and we rehabilitated 22 primary schools. We built more. We built modern toilets with borehole and treatment plants,
Right.
and all of that.
That's,
and we
you were
built
able
the
to
legislative
record
buildings.
all of this.
And everything is in the documentary. And the documentary captured 2 years of the
More than a
administration.
documentary that you have actually read out now. But
Yeah.
so is that to say that the popularity or the name Tinubu enjoys today is as a result of his ability to allow local governments to perform well? Because others will argue, if this was possible in Lagos State, how possible would it be in other states? Because they all believe that the state government helps the local government, to manage its funds and mitigate against corruption. That is the reason why, they ensure that, the fund is being, disbursed by the state governments rather than allowing that local government autonomy and financial autonomy for the local governments.
I remember, before I answer your question, I remember the consulting firm now is Alpha Beta. We work with Alpha Beta at that time to increase our revenue. You see, Asiwaju allowed true federalism to operate in Lagos after that time. And successive government did also allow for it, you understand. And that is one of the strengths of Lagos State, because local government did their part, the state is doing its part. And as at that time, when Asiwaju was there, of course, you remember the crisis between the federal and the state. So we didn't really enjoy federal presence as we are enjoying it right now. You understand? So that allowed for the growth. But with what is championing right now, if it scales through, it means that we're going to have a lot of activities at the local government. And in terms of security, I remember that every month we do have our Security Council meeting. And in that meeting, you have the Army, the Navy, the DSS, the police, the NSCDC, the Neighborhood Watch, the LASMA, the immigration, the royal fathers, the religious leaders, community leaders. We meet, right? So we share intelligence and we map out our security strategies. Then we take the submission to the state government to also see what is happening within the local government to compare with what they have. And in the health sector too, the prevalence of diseases that we have, we also do our report to the Ministry of Health. And I did remember that I also engage in PPP, right? I work with L Lab and Sun Lab to provide laboratory services for our various health centers. Then I also work with Profis Pharmaceutical to provide for free drugs. And we were allocating about 1.5 million for free drugs every month. So through those areas, we could touch people. And we're also gathering data. We gathered a lot of data for our own planning and all of that. We also organized an economic summit on about 2 or 3 occasions. I remember that the Nigerian Economic Summit Group did invite me to Abuja to attend the economic summit as at that time, but I couldn't attend for fear of flight. I'm always afraid to fly most of the time.
Interesting. That was then, although that was then, we're looking at how we can, leverage and move the country forward as it is, deepen democracy. That's, I believe, is what the government is looking at achieving as it is, because I recall the previous administration, President Muhammadu Buhari then, cried out with regards to this matter, how some state governments would just, give the local government whatever it is they felt they could, and then we had this multidimensional poverty level as it is. Now that the government is taking this move, first of all, do you think that the government will be able to force the hand of the state governors to do the needful constitutionally, what is expected of them as it is, and how this will drive democracy at the end of the day and people benefiting from the dividends of governance?
Well, the government don't need to hamstring, twist any state government. As it is now, the president has started by lobbying, having wide discussion.
Has that really worked?
No. It's about persuasion. Politics is about persuasion, right? The first local government in Nigeria, I believe, was Ikorekpene local government. Then you also have some that came up. Look at what happened at the Lagos Island municipality as at then. They were able to build the city hall and all of that. I had the opportunity to have engaged with Prince Olusi. He was one of the councillors at that time, and I asked him, how were you guys able to build that thing? And he said they had already made their budget before the military took over. They had their plans and all of this, right? So the president is trying to take us back to that nostalgia era where grassroots government will work, where one party will not take over all of the local government, except that party is extremely popular in terms of the deliverable to its people. And I also believe that with the amount of state that the APC controls in Lagos, in Nigeria, and all of that, being the dominant party, having more states, when you look at the provision of the constitution of the country, the percentage that will allow for it to become law is already safeguarded. What he's also trying to do is make people understand that, look, it's for the betterment of the people of Nigeria, and of course to take that abundant yoke off the neck of the federal government. But I also foresee an issue, and I would advise that that issue also be embedded in the Constitution. The issue is that pre-1999, there was a lot of debt. You understand? And post-1999, those debts was also there. Some of us paid those debts before we left office, and that's the issue of pension.
Right.
A lot of local government chairmen were not paying pension, and they were not paying teacher salary. And I believe that was what brought the idea of the joint account. Now, the joint account allowed for the first line charges to be taken off, which is teacher salary, pension, and all whatnot, and the local government staff salary. Now, when you take that off, then you now focus on what you have to make provision for infrastructure and other services. So, in working out this new law, they must also look at that aspect, because just as you have some state government, even with the increment in the federal allocation, they are still telling you they can't pay salary.
Yes.
Right? It's mind-boggling. So we have to also look at that part critically well. And I also commend the federal government to allow for INEC to conduct the election, right? Widespread. But again, in developed climes, I want to believe that the local government, as we journey on in life, the local government will have its own electoral bodies, so that they'll be totally independent, and whatever they do will be in sacrosanct with the provision of the Constitution of the
So
Republic.
invariably, are you saying that the government will be able to achieve what other successive governments have not been able to achieve with this move?
Not only that, they will achieve more.
Right.
Because the weight, like I told you, the weight is too much on the federal government. For instance, the federal government is doing some projects helping primary schools. Primary education, primary health care, these are solely responsibility of the local government, right? So if the local government is allowed to access their funds, especially states where they've taken those funds, right, then the federal government can plow those resources into other developmental matters.
So if you look at despite the fact that APC holds sway in Nigeria, it's one thing for the president or the executive, the presidency to say this is the way we feel is the best. It's another thing for the government of the subnationals
to buy into it.
To also buy into it. What do you see their posture like, especially with the fact that the Supreme Court is giving them 7 days ultimatum for them to, defend the suit? You've given them an example that some of these local government chairmen were not able to pay salaries, and some also defaulted in certain things that they were supposed to do, and that's the reason why there is the joint allocation accounts committee and all of that. So do you not feel that, do you see the federal government rescuing the local government from the stranglehold of the states?
It's going to happen, right? It's going to happen with the way the president is going about it, which is persuasion, conviction, and lobbying. So it's going to happen. But again, those little loopholes are what I've mentioned. And I know that Ashwaji is very ingenious. The president is very ingenious. So he has also thought about it on how to work with the National Assembly in order to provide for stopgaps that will resolve those matters. And any governor that do not align with that system means that he does not want the development for his people. Because the chance is now, this is the best time to achieve it, right? So that I can see Labour going on strike. The government need more money. Those monies that are used to defend, let me use the word defend, the local government gaps. Those monies are also rolling to trillions of naira, right? It will be channeled for other developments, help Labour to achieve their set objective, and of course be channeled to other things that will provide for improvement in our economic system.
Right. Now, you said something which I need you to expatiate on. You said the best time is now for us to be able to address this matter head on once for all. If we don't, what happens?
If we don't, we'll be looking for the next blue moon. And that comes maybe once in a millennium. We have a president now that is very popular, right, among the governors. It takes them like fellows, right, like comrades. He doesn't look at them as belonging to one band of a political party or not, right? And they believe in him. So this is the best time to achieve it.
So if he's taking them, working together, and then they also believe in him, what about the people? Because when it comes to the presentation of the national budget, you see people reading it out offhand. But when it comes to their own subnationals, they do not even have a clue or an idea of how some of these funds are, expended. So if the governors are kicking, some of them are kicking that, no, we can't allow this to sail through. What we want to do is we have to let this status quo remain. Do you think the federal government can go it alone without the agitation of the people, for this move?
I've answered your question before. I've told you that the APC has larger majority to allow it to scale through. The National Assembly are bought into it, right? And that tells you a lot.
So they don't need the people to also...
The people are going to be given their liberty. They're going to be given their freedom, right? Take, for instance, at the legislative angle in the local government. It also means that if you are very popular without belonging to a political party, you can win your ward. That is what the president is giving to you. It means that if you are very popular in a small local government, you can win that local government without belonging to a party. It means that an unknown party, like you have in the US, right? At the federal, you only have 2 dominant parties. But when you go deep down, you have lots of political parties. They only come to align at the federal. That is what you're going to be having. So it means that all of those governors that are not working well will now have to start working well. Because by the time a political party takes almost all of your local government, that means you are standing on nothing.
That's not democracy.
No, that's democracy for you. If you can, look at what is happening in South Africa.
Yeah.
The ANC have been weakened.
Yes.
And they have been told that they will be weakened. Look at the corruption that happened in the National Assembly. Right. Look at when Malema was pushing, right? And all of that. They didn't listen. Malema have been pushing for so many years. They didn't listen. The crisis in the party, I've been telling them. They didn't listen. But look at it now. So it means that everybody must be up on their games. It means that the people now have more opportunities to gain power. And when you gain power, it is what you put into the power that will determine your survival of your party and your political career.
So it's good that you're giving them this kind of enlightenment, because I believe that question stems out of some persons not understanding the idea behind this push, that it is about
what it also means.
down power.
What it also means that in your various local government at your state, right? You could go back there with your brilliance, right, and work for the people, because already you have the optics and the people believe in you, right? You just go back there, gain power, and implement those lovely things that you've always advocated, working with the people.
Brian, I believe that's an opportunity for you.
What about you?
No, let's leave there.
So talking about the insecurity, the national question, talking about, the state policing that people are advocating. So you feel that if there is local government autonomy, then we'll be able to tackle security, because they say every politic
is local.
Is local. Security situations too. You feel that this is local, and with this, we'll be able to stem the tide of insecurity.
You see, when I was the chairman of my local government, we normally have town hall meetings, and it's rather unfortunate that the environmental sanitation exercise, the monthly exercise in Lagos State, has been taken off by the judgment of the court, because that is one platform that helps to know your neighbor and help people to align within their communities, right? I normally call myself at my local government that I'm a boy of my area. I've been living in Amuodofin since 1978, Festac Town. I've not lived outside Festac Town, so I know the nooks and crannies there. So what I simply did, in addition to the Security Council meeting that we have, right, I will move at night, because I will resume around 8:39 and close 3 a.m. every day for 6 years. So while you are sleeping, I'm moving around to check, the tempo of the area. And aside from that, I already had my own police as at that time. I was using the man o' war, right? I was a member of the man o' war, and I was deputy commandant in 1986. Right? So I was using them for traffic. I was using them to organize the people. I was also talking to the people direct and passing the information to other security agencies. Right? We also belong to ECLAIR. ECLAIR is the Council for Local Government all over the world, and we attended the United Nations Conference on Climate Change. And we did a lot with our platform.
Our time is up. These are lessons for those who are at the helm of affairs to learn that they can do a lot with the little they have at the end of the day. Ayodele Adewale, public commentator, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me
on the program. Well, this is where we draw the curtains on the program for today.